Have you ever wondered whether there were any assassination attempts upon the infamous Adolf Hitler's life? While some of the more extreme Americans call for the assassination of President Donald Trump, Hitler was a much more reviled man. Indeed, there were an estimated 40 attempts upon Hitler's life, but perhaps the most famous of them all was the final attempt known as the 20th of July plot. Even before World War II, there were those such as Colonel Henning von Tresckow, pictured here, who wanted Hitler removed. The fear was that Hitler was going to start a Second World War. Unfortunately, any removal attempts failed and the war ensued. With the Allies towards the end of the Second World War drawing closer and closer to Germany, men high up in the Nazi command began to feel that Hitler was driving their country into the ground. The idea of the conspirators from the very beginning was to remove Hitler from power and institute a new government that would be more open and willing to make peace with the Allied forces. This particular plan meant accusing the Gestapo of a takeover, which would allow the conspirators the legal right to call upon the reserve forces in Berlin and make the necessary arrests. This particular part of the plan was known as Valkyrie. At around 1943, Army Lieutenant Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg, pictured here, was included in the plan. Having returned from North Africa and having survived an attack that took one of his eyes, he was even more confident that Hitler was destroying his beloved fatherland. Shortly after his introduction, he replaced Tresckow in the plannings of the operations when the colonel was reassigned to the Russian front. On the 20th of July, 1944, Stauffenberg was called to attend a military meeting with the Fuhrer to discuss battle plans. Originally, the meeting was going to take place in a bunker, but was shortly moved to a smaller hut known as the Wolves' Lair due to the increasing temperature. The plan for this assassination attempt was for Stauffenberg to insert a timed bomb into a briefcase and set it as close to the Fuhrer as possible. If you observe this diagram, this shows you a good idea of what the meeting would have looked like, with Hitler being more towards the middle of the table and the bomb being placed a few people over to the right. Stauffenberg would have been around one or two people over before he decided to leave the room. Sometime during the meeting, Stauffenberg received a planned phone call and subsequently left the building. The bomb detonated, causing Stauffenberg to believe that Hitler was indeed assassinated, and he went on to pursue the plans of taking over Berlin. If it hadn't been for Colonel Heinz Brandt moving the briefcase over, Hitler very well may have perished. As the Fuhrer became well enough to make some calls, the arrests began. General Friedrich Fromm, commander of the Reserve Army, managed to apprehend and court-martial both Stauffenberg and Tresckow. According to www.jewishlibrary.org, of an estimated 7,000 arrests, 4,980 men in the following days were either executed or committed suicide. Understanding that Hitler was nearly killed by his own men demonstrates that if they were successful, the war may have ended very differently. Their resistance also shows that not all men were willing to be slaves to Hitler's regime, and their bravery and their courage will not go forgotten. Thank you very much.